The Federal Reserve is an institution that prints money. Even their other policy of setting interest rates is done by printing money. It's literally a printing press and the monopoly of the currency of the US. They do not have your best interests in mind and are colluding in the shadows to hand money from their magical printing press through the backdoor channels into the accounts of their friends, all in the dark of the night. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the Federal Reserve, my favorite topic of all. This institution is guilty of so much over the years. We have seen the admissions coming from every corner of the world, what they have done. It isn't a scheme, it's not a scam that has been hiding. It has been right in your face if you only took the time to do the research and find out what's been happening. So I'm going to get into some of those today, beginning with one of those I love to read about. Kudlow, Fed may not hike interest rates, quote, in my lifetime. And when I heard that word, lifetime, it started to bring back a few memories, so I'll get into that. But just wanted to show you right now, you're seeing Larry Kudlow again talking about how everything is just fine. At the same time, we see the fact that if it was really fine, why wouldn't they increase interest rates? Why wouldn't they go out there and try to set things back to where they were? Of course, they know very well that this isn't the case. So Larry Kudlow was being interviewed by The Hill and he said this: "As I say, we wish they hadn't raised. I noticed from the various reports and so forth that they changed their view. I don't think rates will rise in the foreseeable future, maybe never again in my lifetime." Now, I don't know about you, but they are unable to keep this going forever. Yes, they can prolong it. They can try to do so, but eventually something will snap. And it is at that moment where they have to react after the fact. There is no way for them to ever preemptively anticipate a crisis. They have never done so since the creation back in 1913. The first time they began to really intervene was in the 20s, and this has been causing problems ever since. Well, we know specifically that everything they say is used against us as some sort of method of propaganda when we should just be looking at the actions and what they have done previously and try to figure it out. Why are they going ahead and saying this if everything is fine? It doesn't make sense. Think about it for just a moment. Fed's Yellen expects no new financial crisis in our lifetimes. You remember this? Well, back a year or two ago, I believe it was, Janet Yellen said, "Would I say there will never be another financial crisis? You know, probably that would be going too far, but I do think we're much safer, and I hope that it will not be in our lifetimes, and I don't believe it will be." That's a quote directly from Janet Yellen, suggesting to everybody, you don't have to worry. This is coming at a time when we can see all of those out there like Goldman Sachs suggesting there is only a 10% chance of recession. You don't have to worry. But it's usually in these times when we're being told, don't worry, the problem is over there, when it's actually brewing and getting worse. This is the time when we should be just noting the documented facts, and then we have portfolios and we adjust accordingly. That's all it means. If it were positive to take interest rates into negative territory, I would be voting for that. Guess who? Janet Yellen. That's right, my favorite, and probably yours too. This is prior to her actually becoming the Fed chair, and she literally said she would love to see negative interest rates. It doesn't matter about what's going to happen to the real, actual individuals, the savers out there. They don't care. They don't give a good damn about anybody. This is the truth. This is the fact that we have seen over and over again, but people are brainwashed into thinking that they're there to prevent this crisis from happening. The Federal Reserve is going to save us all, even though they might be saving the banks, but they're going to save me too because I got my 7 shares and they're going to protect them. You think for a second that they care about you? Not even for 1 second are you ever taken into consideration in any of the actions of the Federal Reserve. Study how this institution institution was developed initially. You have to know what happened in order to understand it. You will not be able to be successful in life, in your careers, in everything you do if you don't have the backdrop, if you don't understand the foundation. That's what is necessary. And in this case here, in the financial world, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. It's an old saying, but it rings true today. In my opinion, this is one of the best videos I have ever seen related to the Federal Reserve. You can see here, at the time, Chairman Bernanke, that's right, and he was being grilled by members of the Congress, I believe. This was actually Senator Sanders, talking with him, suggesting that they gave out $2.2 trillion to some banks, they had that amount, and he's grilling him, and he's telling him, who exactly did this money go to? And he literally said this. The quote is, "Tell us who got the money." Ben Bernanke, straight face, he said the word no. And that's what happens. They don't have to abide by any rules. When they say they're independent, trust me, they're not listening to anybody on the outside of it. There's no pressure going to be applied to them. He said, tell us who got the money. You wouldn't even tell them who got the money, who got $2.2 trillion. This was early on in the bailout schemes that were taking place, but it went much further than that. Then at the end of it, I was very proud of him actually. You can say what you want about him, but during this time frame here, he was one of the very few that were actually calling out the Federal Reserve. And that's really something that should be highlighted and should be noted. At the end, he basically said, look, we're going to put legislation through today. I'm working on it right now, and we're going to find out who you gave that money to. This is unacceptable. Totally agree with that. And that was really good to see some level of actual honesty and somebody who cares what's going on in their own country. Look at the Fed audit from back in 2011. Look, did you even know that the Federal Reserve gave out $16 trillion? This is actually, again, from the Sanders Senate website, and you could see it for yourself. All you need to know is basically they gave out $16 trillion in secret loans all around the world. That data was brought out there. It was understood that this is something that would have never made it into the public if they didn't do an investigation into it. They got this limited audit. And of course, they find out all the juicy details. So then all these people were then prosecuted after? Is that what happened? No. Nobody got in trouble. Nothing happened. That's it. We just have this website that shows $16 trillion in bailouts around the world. That's literally it. That's all that happened. Nothing was ever brought up after this. And that's when you know you have corruption to the max. This is a Bernanke interview on 60 Minutes from years ago, and he was asking him about the bailouts. The interviewer from 60 Minutes said, "You've been printing money." And Bernanke replied, "We need to do that because our economy is very weak. When the economy begins to recover, that will be the time when we need to unwind those programs, raise interest rates, and reduce the money supply." So he is in fact admitting exactly what needs to be done. There is no suggestion that this would ever be the case. What we're seeing today, unprecedented levels, the time frame, the scale, everything, that was never going to be like that if you look at the actual intentions, initially the public intentions. But of course, here we are today, 10 years later, watching them say, look, everything is fine in the economy, we're seeing it fine, but we just need to print a lot of money, and we cannot continue this quantitative tightening policy, which is only a very small fraction of the total, and we cannot increase interest rates back to their normal levels. But we said we would do all of that, and here we are today. However, the economy is doing fine, and the stock market is excellent because the economy is great, and we see good things coming in the future. Do you not see something wrong with that at all? I told you specifically what Ben Bernanke said that the plan would be. When the economy gets better, we're going to increase interest rates back to a normal level. We are going to stop printing money. We're going to unwind the balance sheet, increase rates. We're going to do everything along the lines that we said we would. And of course, this never happened because the economy never got any better. Now, the Federal Reserve gave out a lot of money all around the world, and for the most part, people have no idea. I brought this up before. I talked about the Federal Reserve bailing out Canada. If you comment somewhere here about that on this platform, you will find that people consistently suggest that you're a liar. Well, this is the case. Bloomberg got the data. I did a video about it. If you search the Money GPS, Fed bailed out Canada, you will find the video. I broke it down in, but you can see it for yourself on Bloomberg's own website. They have the details there. Now, yes, you can see some like Morgan Stanley getting more than others. It doesn't matter though. They bailed out institutions all around the world. Why did that ever happen? You have to think to yourself, why would the Federal Reserve bail out a company in another country? Why wouldn't the central bank of that country do it? Well, we have questions. That's the whole point. I don't know why this happened, but I have questions. I want to know why the banks in my country are getting money from a foreign institution. Was that ever paid back? What were the terms of the loan? What happened? Well, we have no clue, and this is the documented fact that we have. So we start to look at it and we start to raise our voices. That's all we can really do. The meeting minutes in the most recent Fed meeting actually changed somewhat. The word patient was slashed by 46%. If you remember, I was going through the meeting minutes in the last speech, talking about everything that happened, and the word patient or patience was used so many times throughout. And it was weird, actually, how many times that word was being used. This time around, however, they actually reduced that word. Very interesting that things have changed in relation to this word specifically in the way that this was being used to mute all of the problems that were being seen. I thought it was interesting. I just wanted to make note of that. I'm going to end the video there. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, you are supporting this channel, so I do appreciate that very much. Now, if you want the financial education that you were not taught in school, these two books have everything that you need. You can get all the details at the link in the description. Here I talk about the foundation, the history, the asset classes, how to profit, everything that you need to know in these books. It's basically the education system that was robbed from you. So if you want to check them out, take a look at the link. If you want the audiobook, that's available at themoneygps.com. 200,000 less people were employed in March, despite the numbers that you're hearing out there, the positivity. If you haven't seen it already, click on this video and I will see you there.